your social media sites and the gifts that you are given are very strange. At times, there's a lot of cats that are being given to you now, in cookies and cupcakes and
real cats,
cat shoes and all kinds of.
I take full responsibility for that. I mean, Tegan on the last album cycle said something about giraffes, and it was like 6 months of giraffe paraphernalia. And we were like, how do we tell them that you don't really like giraffes that much? Do you know, I've thought a lot about what it was that kept me going, because I think Tegan was definitely more motivated than I was. I struggled. I wanted to go back to school.
Do what?
I don't even know. I felt scared and unhappy, and I would just get home from tour, and I would just download applications to go back to university, and just start writing out things. It was a confusing time, but one of the things that I look back on now after 17 years, talking about our community, our fan base, I think a lot of people, especially because so early on we identified as gay, and I think that I was really scared and I couldn't see my future. I remember struggling to figure out.
I mean, that's one issue in and of itself.
Yeah.
Without adding the public part of it and the music part of it,
Totally.
and how your music's going to be perceived, because you didn't hide anything in your lyrical content. You were very, very clear about who the object of your adoration was.
Yeah, and that, on one hand, I felt really on blast. I was I never felt like there was anywhere for me to hide, and I felt uncomfortable with that. But then on the other hand, because I'd had these really early experiences of just outrage and shame and whatever, I was unapologetic. I wanted to be out, and I was I guess in a way it was you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I knew that I wanted more privacy and I wanted more autonomy, and I didn't like the public life, but then on the other hand, I could see what having this public, transparent life was doing for the people who were showing up at our shows. And seeing them, even when they were just a small number of people, I mean, I'm talking 20 people in Houston in 2004, it still is in my head. It was one of the first times I can remember us having this kind of show where we'd released So Jealous and the kids were there and they were singing, and I thought, well, this is something, we're really connecting with these people, and I knew that they were queer, and I knew that they liked us because of our music, but also because we were something visible for them to attach to.
Because they don't really have
They don't, and they still
anybody to look at and go, that is me.
No, and we didn't really. I mean, we had a few people, but a lot of the people.
You had Nickelback.
We had Nickelback.
What just happened? Wow.
There was so much music that I identified with, but I think in my post-adolescence, I realized that as much as I loved Bruce Springsteen, or I loved Billy Corgan, or all these.
Yeah, talk about your influences a little bit. I mean, I know quite a bit about it just because I've been studying you very carefully for 16 years. But yeah, I think people will be surprised at, you guys did have similar tastes, but it wasn't Springsteen, and it wasn't, I mean, it started there, but then you had your own.
I mean, I think that the stuff that probably, made the biggest impression on us was probably the stuff we were listening to just as kids. I mean, that's where you're sort of the sponge of your brain is going, oh, this is how songs are made, And I think it was probably Prince and Madonna and Cyndi Lauper and a lot of the stuff in the 80s and the early 90s that was popular just around us all the time. And there was also a real openness to that music, and also those people's lives. David Bowie, all of those people, even if they didn't identify as queer, they were there was a gender nonconformity that I remember seeing as a kid, and I remember, I remember seeing Madonna's Truth or Dare, and that was my first time seeing two men kiss each other, and there was so much stuff just blowing my mind. And then all of a sudden, it was the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was the straightest time where it was gender was men are like this and women are like this, and nothing, not to slag on any of these artists, but it was boys were encouraged again to be masculine, and women were in bathing suits with snakes around their necks on the cover of Rolling Stone, and I was I don't get it, I don't understand any of it. And so I think that also informed how out we were, because I thought, oh God, we have to be ourselves. We don't fit into any of these categories, and so the only way we're going to read as honest and transparent and connect with these people is to be ourselves. And so it ended up saving us. I mean, the thing that stressed me out and scared me in the beginning of our career is the thing is the reason why I tour 280 days a year.
I think